Chapter 22, Mogadishu, Part 1. Our country mainly knows about Africa's Somalia and its capital Mogadishu from the 2001 movie Black Hawk Down, about a downed Army helicopter during the 1993 battle in Mogadishu and the daring rescue operation that followed. Although I would eventually deliver those same Army Rangers to Mogadishu, my first encounter with the capital city actually started a few nights before Operation Desert Storm kicked off. While based at Sea Bear Base in Muscat, Oman, our crew was pulled away from our Desert Shield refueling missions as the military buildup in Saudi Arabia continued. We scrambled as an alert tanker to support the evacuation of State Department workers in the Somali capital of Mogadishu as the city fell to rebel soldiers. Our task was to refuel an AC-130 gunship off the coast of Somalia as they provided air support during the evacuation. Taking off at 3 a.m., we flew 1,700 miles south from Oman in just under 4 hours to rendezvous with the gunship as the sun rose on January 4, 1991. The AC-130 had rapid-fire gun barrels and cannon protruding from its side and refueled at a very slow speed of 220 knots, or 250 miles per hour. In comparison, the relatively slow A-10 fighter refueled at 250 knots, but most of the other aircraft we refueled flew at 280 to 300 knots, so 220 knots seemed quite slow. The heavily loaded AC-130 pulled up behind us at dawn to start the air refueling process. They had difficulty closing the distance between us because they could not penetrate the bow wave coming off our aircraft. The bow wave is a cushion of air between airplanes, and it requires a little extra power from the trailing aircraft to penetrate and proceed into the refueling position. The heavy AC-130 just couldn't generate enough power to break through this air cushion. Their pilot asked us to slow to 210 knots, which we did. They again asked us to slow some more, so we slowed to 200 knots. We were so focused on helping them get onto our refueling boom that we didn't realize we were now flying so slowly that we should have partially deployed our wings' trailing edge flaps to create more lift and help to lower our nose closer to a horizontal level altitude. We finally realized that our deck angle was abnormally high and told the AC-130 to maintain their distance while we deployed our flaps a few degrees and safely slowed to 200 knots. Once slowed, we began a slow, gradual descent called a toboggan maneuver, allowing the heavy AC-130 to use the descent to complete their contact and receive the fuel they needed. With the refueling complete, the gunship peeled off to the west toward Mogadishu. We stayed in the refueling orbit over the water for 4 hours, monitoring the radios to keep abreast of the situation over the crumbling city. Suddenly, we heard the Navy Super Stallion helicopters sent from the USS Guam to retrieve the State Department workers, calling for air support from the AC-130. There was no reply from the gunship as the helicopters made repeated radio calls. After listening to the unanswered calls, I radioed the AC-130 on the same frequency. Because we were flying at 25,000 feet, much higher than the other low-flying helicopters and gunship, we could hear all of them, but they could not hear each other. I quickly became a radio relay between the two-ship helicopter flight and their gunship support. The helicopter pilots painted a verbal picture of the situation in the city, saying there were roving patrols of rebels driving around the city in station wagons with rifles sticking out of the windows. I thought about the dichotomy of our American airborne gunship bristling with cannons and machine gun barrels and this Somali rebel gunship, probably a beaten-up 1970s station wagon with AK-47s protruding from its windows. While Randy flew from the left seat, I relayed the position of the roving rebels to the AC-130 crew for them to lend their aerial support to the evacuation below. By the end of the day, 61 U.S. State Department personnel were extracted from the U.S. Embassy compound by the two Navy Sea Stallion helicopters and safely evacuated to the USS Guam. Once the AC-130 completed its air support mission over the city, they returned to their base in Kenya. We flew north late that afternoon, logging 12 hours and 45 minutes of combat support time. Assisting in the safe evacuation of the State Department workers gave our crew immense satisfaction. Right place, right time.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.